Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Natural Female Muscle Podcast for episode number 46. This week on the podcast, we are joined by PNBA Figure Pro, Paula Christian Cox. Paula is an established open and masters figure competitor, having won several titles since she began her competitive journey in 2017 and ultimately leading to attaining her pro status with the PNBA in 2023 at none other than the Natural Olympia. However, something that I find really incredible about Paula is that she actually started her competitive journey at 50 years of age and since then has just gone from strength to strength and just continued to get better and better since her first season, which is amazing. And that's a journey that any athlete will find inspiring. And even alongside this, Paula has also established her own posing business in the bodybuilding industry, which is just another incredible achievement in itself. So today I am so excited to have Paula on and to talk about her journey. So thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome, Lars. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. Yeah, thanks
No,
very much.
you're so welcome. Like I've seen you at so many of your shows and had the pleasure of obviously spending time with you on some of the amazing trips that we've been on as well. So I always think it's incredible when you see an athlete on stage, but to really understand kind of what's gone into that is always incredible, which is why I love to get guests like yourself on. But how are you today anyways? Everything going well with you in your bodybuilding process currently?
Yeah, everything's going good. Bit busy, bit mad busy,
Mm,
just with work, the posing business,
I
as
bet.
you said, and trying to, just keep up with prep and training. So this morning I've done my fasted cardio. It's a rest day today for me.
Nice.
So just want to kick back just today to put all the tools down, and
Mm.
just chill, ready for the week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely like a new balance that you then have to find when, like you say, you're so busy with the posing, but then you're also trying to manage your own bodybuilding journey as well. It can almost like take more out of you because you've got even more stuff to kind of organize and plan and prep around aside from just doing your bodybuilding things.
Yeah. Sometimes I just feel like and like you said, it's new to me. So I feel like
Mm.
I don't know how to switch off sometimes.
Yeah.
Like hubby Andrew is always saying, okay, enough, let's just chill now. And
Mm.
you're like, okay. And then something crops up, it just comes into my mind. And I'm like, no, I must do this. But like you said, it's just about trying to find that balance
Yeah.
and just get used to these new ventures that I've got.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
It's exciting though. Are you still actually working as a nurse now as well, or is posing the full-time thing?
Yeah, I am still working as a nurse. It's funny, a lot of people ask me, they say, especially like um, nurses that I've worked with in the past, they'll say, are you still nursing? You don't see each other for ages. Are you still nursing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still nursing, and I think I will always still do my nursing. It's something I'm really, really passionate about. And I didn't start my nursing career until really late in life either. I
Oh,
think it was 48 when I did my degree and everything. So, um, yeah, so I didn't start my nursing career till late. So, and it was stressful because part of that time I had started to go into take an interest in bodybuilding.
yeah.
So trying to only the very early years though, trying to train and manage everything. But like I said, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And since I was with the NHS, but since long story, coming away from the NHS, it's now given me that much more flexibility to be able, so I work privately, so to be able to continue to work as a nurse and be passionate about it while doing my bodybuilding and building my posing business.
Mm.
So yeah.
No, I love that though, because I think it's really nice that you have those different things that you are passionate about that you still keep in your life. But like you say, it's just finding the balance of, I
Yeah.
suppose, organizing everything, and especially when it comes to managing that around bodybuilding as well, which we'll come into shortly, because I know there's a lot of people, especially like in that kind of field as work, where they're doing that, but then also maybe they're doing like posing or they're doing coaching on the side, and it's a lot to balance. So that's definitely something I'd love to bring up later on, but I'll end up going down a tangent if if I end up talking about it now. So before we I get ahead of myself, I'd love to kind of bring things back to, I suppose, the start of your bodybuilding journey, but also for you, what even brought you anywhere near the vicinity of, bodybuilding and training in the first place. Because I can imagine that like life for you probably was maybe different, or like you say, you weren't even nursing at the time before you got into bodybuilding. So what was, I suppose, just life as a whole like for you before bodybuilding became part of it?
I think for me it was I was into retail, so I worked in a shop.
Mm,
I did a little bit of management, but I was always active. Even from being at school, I went to a dance school from a really young age, so I do come from a dance background.
yeah.
Um, as soon as I left school, um, it was hence the age. It was more of like how I was brought up was like you go out, you get a job,
Yeah.
and you contribute to the household and so on. But like I said, I'm one of three, so I was very fortunate that my parents sent me to a dance school and I had that privilege and I just loved it from day one. Um, Carried that along with me over the years into my early 20s. And I traveled the world dancing
That's
as a
amazing.
professional. Yeah. And yeah, that's all I knew. It was just awesome. Every time I'd come back after a couple of years or so, I'd maybe dabble into retail again.
Mm,
Um, Fast forward, things just changed. As I got older with my dance, I kind of came away from that and it was more like a recreational thing,
yeah.
just something that I still loved and just did the odd classes. But then I found the gym. And once I got into the gym, it was more like it was just I was hooked on the fitness classes, like the cardio classes, the
Yeah.
spin,
Yeah.
the step classes, the body pump. I was just hooked on that. That's all I do. Sometimes two, three classes a day. You know how it goes. You think
Yeah.
more is better.
Yeah. I do.
So, so I was doing that, and I just thought, sometimes in these classes I'd see I wanted to lose weight, and I did lose weight. I'm not saying I was ever majorly overweight because of my
Mm,
dance, but as dance took a back seat, I did, become a little bit heavier than maybe I would have liked and didn't have the body shape. So doing the classes, I thought this was going to solve it all. My diet was probably what I thought was healthy,
mm,
eating the least amount of anything, crackers
yeah.
and veg, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but totally not that at all. And then just wondered why my body shape wasn't changing.
Mm,
And I started going into the gym then and lifting weights. And that's where I saw the difference and I
mm,
really liked it. So then obviously the classes took a back seat. And it's funny how I actually, because I think you're going to ask me anyway, but how I
mm,
actually got into bodybuilding was I'd been lifting the weights for a good, well, what I say a good while, 6 months to a year.
mm,
And some guy came up to me in the gym and said, "Oh, are you training for anything special?" And I didn't know this guy, and I was just like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, because you look really, you look like a bodybuilder." I had no clue what bodybuilding was
yeah.
or what was involved or anything like that. All I know is that I didn't really take it as a compliment because all I knew as bodybuilding was like, big muscles,
Yeah.
some women that didn't look very feminine. And
Yeah.
so I took it as an insult. I came
How dare
home and I
you?
said to Andrew, I said, "Oh, I've just been insulted in the gym." And he's like, "Why? What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, this guy just told me I look like a man." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Well, he said I looked like a bodybuilder." And he said, "Well, that's hardly saying you look like a man,
Yeah.
is it?" But then it just started me thinking. So straight away, I was Googling bodybuilders.
Mm.
And for females, all that was coming up was like these really,
Yeah.
henched women, big muscles. And I'm like, oh no, that's totally not me. But then as I started like doing more research, I saw that there were more categories and different categories, different physiques, different looks. And it's funny because we were sat together looking through, me and Andrew, and I'm going, oh, she looks good. Oh, no, that looks nice. So she look, that sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. And that's how it all just started. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's amazing to think that like somebody who you thought was like offending you at at the
Yeah.
time. Imagine being offended by that now. It's so funny. But it does
And
really show though how the the average conception of like what a bodybuilder is, especially as a woman, is so different to I suppose what a lot of the opportunities are actually like, especially as like a natural athlete as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that some friends that I have that are bodybuilders now in the industry, they still get um, a lot of flack now as
Mm.
to, when they're really conditioned, they
Yeah.
may get the odd negative comment about their femininity and how they look and so on. So, just going back to how I felt when that guy
Mm.
said that, and it just shows you that now it's still I perceived it like that, but it is there. It is around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has that like changed for you as you think about, I suppose, bodybuilding and yourself now? Because I mean, it's a funny one because I suppose the idea of having muscles as a woman is not something that I think is neither masculine or feminine. It's just what it is. It's like displaying strengths and what you're capable of doing. Has that been something that's kind of shifted a lot for you in the way that you see it?
Yeah, I don't definitely don't see it obviously as an insult as like I did before. Like you said, I just see it as it's an achievement, it's a strength. Um, it's a sign of discipline
Yeah.
as well. And in some cases, and my own really, it's a sign of order. I love to have things in order and be regiment and tick boxes. I just love things like that. I love goals like that. And yeah, so I definitely don't see it as a negative, no matter how big or small, and no matter how you achieved it, whether you're a natural or enhanced, it's still a skill. You still have to put work into it.
Yeah.
It's still a discipline, and the end result is still amazing, no matter the physique or the category, really.
Yeah, so true. But when I suppose you went from that point of kind of sitting down, you both being like, "Oh, this is actually kind of cool, quite like this." What were your next steps that you actually took from there? Did you decide like, "Oh, this is something I'd like to do"? Did you look out for a coach? How did you actually embark on, I suppose, deciding that that was a journey you wanted to head towards?
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit of um a learning curve really, because yeah, I decided that's what I wanted to do, continue to train. So I thought in the gym on my own. And then I did look into getting a coach, and it turned out to be just some random guy in the gym who looked who looked quite good, who
Yeah,
just happened to approach me and happened to be a coach. Um, Looking back, well, after a couple of years, we knew he wasn't a very good coach, but at that time, so I went with this coach. It was a male coach, and I think when your body's new to certain things, it's going to respond anyway, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, it's you're going to get the results anyway. And I think this is what happened. So I went with this coach, and he trained me into my first show, and I looked great. Um, you know, the diet now that I was on, the prep that I was on, looking back, I knew it wasn't right. That's
Yeah.
not how you do it. But because we got the results, and again into the second show, we got the results. The physique looked awesome. You just stick with it, don't you? So, but then things started to change with that coach. There was just things that just weren't right. The price would go up every couple of months. Just things
Mm.
started getting really dodgy, and
Yeah.
so decided to. Well, I was just started posing with Emma Hyman then as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was around 2017, I believe. So just started posing with her, and just told her a few things about what was going on with the coach. Didn't really read too much into it. Um, but then it just got so bad with him. I said to her, and I knew she prepped people at the time because back then she did.
Yeah.
So I just said, I'm going to be leaving him. Would you consider prepping me? And she was like, yeah. So I stayed with Emma for 4 or 5 years, I think, for quite a
Yeah.
while. Yeah. And posing as well. And we achieved some good things together. Yeah. So, my early wins and so on, we achieved some good things together. And I mean, moving forward from Emma, she grew with her business. She started to drop prep clients. I think I was her only prep client that she had left. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I was like saying to hubby, I'm like, oh no, she's gonna drop me. She's branching out the other way now.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, no, no, it's gonna be fine. And she did. We had the talk, and she referred me to, not in a bad way, just because she was just too busy.
Yeah, of
And she
course.
said, I wouldn't be able to do you justice. You need more now. And she referred me to Nathan Styles, Good Style.
Yeah.
And I was so, so nervous and, just skeptical about going with somebody else because I'd been with her all the time
Yeah.
and she knew my body inside out. But she was like, you'll be fine. He's good. He's a little bit under the radar because at that time he was. I think I've
Mm.
been with him now about three years or so.
Mm.
So at that time, he was very much under the radar and had not competed for a while himself.
Yeah.
And it was great. Yeah, he was just brilliant and still is. The attention to detail, the attention I got, it's just awesome. And even now, as he's more out there in the industry now, really, really grown, um, I still get the same amount of attention. He's just brilliant. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what comes with a good coach though, is, the quality of the work still stays the same no matter what. Because like I say, Nate, it's actually quite nice to see Nath, I suppose, getting a bit more recognition as of
Yeah.
late, because he's not just a great coach, he's such a lovely guy as well.
And he's so
Despite
humble, isn't he?
yeah,
So
despite
humble.
being
Yeah.
this massive giant, he's lovely, and obviously Phoebe is as well. And yeah, it's really nice to hear that you had that coaching transition, which I suppose so different to like conventionally, people are leaving coaches because they're not having a good experience or they want to try something different. You kind of didn't have a choice and things are actually
Yeah.
going well, which I suppose is like kind of scary. But the most important thing is that you have trust in someone. And obviously, Emma gave you a really good referral and recommendation as she would do as
Yeah.
well. But I can imagine immediately that was made, like you say, it was probably just a bit scary to see how different things were going to be.
Yeah, because I remember in the early days of switching over, and Nathan gave me my first plan and my training plan, obviously. And I was like, hmm, I never did this with Emma. We
Yeah.
we never did this before. We never, and I'd be like saying to Emma, oh, but he's done this, he's done that. And she says, yes, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So we had that little back and forth for a while, but then obviously we got the trust and, you know, he knows my body inside out now. He knows where we need to go to get the results. Sometimes it's not always ideal, and it's not always what he likes to do because, like I said, it's not the best, but I think it goes with being older as well. We just have to go to dark places to pull out what we need to get. So yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that then has got, I suppose, a lot harder for you over the years when it comes to actually prepping and getting down into the stage lean condition?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've not noticed it. Me and Nathan were actually talking about this. I've not noticed it being harder because I'm always a grafter anyway. And he always says that. I know I can push you, I know you can do it. Um, but if I'm being realistic, because we had this talk, if I'm being realistic, you know, I'm 58, so this is the longest off season that I've had from June last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're looking to put some, a little bit more upper body size on tissue as much as what you can as a natural athlete
Mhm.
and at my age. But we're confident we've made some gains and we're going to bring a better package. But along that journey, that road, there's the realization that preps going forward will not be about putting size on
Yeah.
because the more we have to push up, obviously it's harder on my body for me to remove it.
Mm.
So then to push up not as far, then obviously you risk not increasing that tissue as much or even at all. And especially again, I know it's going back to the age, but it's the truth. And it's kind of hard to accept in a sense because one of my regrets, Loz, is that I just wish I'd started earlier.
Mm.
I really do. That that would be the only regret, yeah, that I wish I'd started earlier in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it is what it is, and like Nathan says, we've just have to work with what we've got. So this is where we're at.
Mm.
I
It's a
went off a
hard
little
one
bit off
though.
tangent.
Yeah, no, it's a hard one though, isn't it? Because it's like you also, at the end of the day, you found bodybuilding when you found bodybuilding. Like it's not like you thought about it and you held off for too long. Do you know, like the type of
Mm.
people who think like, oh, I don't know if I should start yet or not. Like I
Yeah, I know
think
what you mean.
it gives a good message that like, to people, if you're thinking about starting, just start and get after it. But at the same time, like you've still done done incredibly well regardless, and you genuinely have continued to step forward over those years because you've gone from, yes, getting some decent results in your first seasons, but to then winning British titles and winning pro cards and still doing amazing things. And I think for
Mm.
any athlete, like you get to a point where we hit, everyone talks about your natural ceiling or whatever.
Yeah.
We all hit it at some point, or we hit, like, the steps forward that you take are going to become more and more marginal, but it doesn't mean that you're not still incredible. It's like, even you look at someone like Yvette, Yvette, like she's still
Mm.
storming on and she's like maybe not
Yeah.
making massive steps forward, but she's still making steps forwards, and
Mm.
it's still incredible to kind of showcase that. But I do think it's a good message to people that that don't ever be afraid to kind of get started wherever you're at,
Mm.
because there's always more to gain from it.
Yeah, and especially as a younger athlete, like you said, don't be afraid to get started. Do some
Mm.
research, and then if that's what you want to do, just get started. Don't keep putting it off. As an older athlete, I would think just go for it.
Yeah.
If it's a thing where it's a bucket list, then do it as a bucket list. But you never know what might come of it after. You may really, really fall in love with it and want to be in it for the long haul. And I remember that's one of the things that Emma said to me. She goes, at one point I said, "Oh, I want this, I want that, I want a pro card, I want to do this." She goes,
Yeah.
"You've got to be in it for the long haul and you don't need to be chasing cards." And I think Lee always says that as well, doesn't
Yeah.
he? It's not about chasing the card, it's about enjoying the journey and the process.
Mm.
What will come will come. And I think in my early years, I got ahead of myself and I was thinking like that. Oh, I want to win this. I want to do this. I want to get a pro card. And then I think I just kind of just chilled a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want it in the back of our heads,
Yeah.
but I just kind of chilled a little bit and just got on with it. And yeah, and things. And you're right. I have still made progress. Um, yeah, but I just need to just keep pushing forward and continue.
That's it though, isn't it? It's like it's so easy to get distracted by I want this title and I want this card and I want this and that. And it's like, but what does that actually mean? Like at the end of the day, are you actually feeling fulfilled from just getting that one thing? Or is it about the journey and what, like you even said at the start, what it gives you on a day-to-day basis? Like you say, you love ticking the boxes, you love getting to do what you get to do on the day by day, because that's what we're getting from it in the grand scheme of things. And I think like bringing yourself back to that is so important, no matter where you're at, whether you're at the top or whether you're just starting out. Either end, I think you can get carried away by saying, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And it's like, but why? Like, why do you want
Mm,
this?
yeah, yeah.
And I think bringing yourself back to that is obviously important, but like you still have, like, it is still cool to obviously have attained your pro status and to have
Mm.
like won the classes and the titles that you have done, especially at the back end of that 2023 season. But I think the 2020 season was the first year that you won the actual British title at the UKDFBA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Was that quite a, I suppose, quite a special moment for that to be sort of like one of your first like major titles, really?
It was, yeah, and especially with the UKDFBA because I'd been competing with them for a while, and my placings, don't get me wrong, my placings were still like top three
Mm.
um for a while, and then top two. There was like me and Maria, we were like
Yeah.
neck and neck all the time, and we have this thing. It was like cat and mouse back and forth,
Yeah.
and it's fun, and that you can be like that. Um, but then when, like you said, when I took the title, I just didn't believe it because I mean, yeah, I knew I brought my a good package, and but I think so used to coming top three, top two, top two, top two.
Yeah.
There were times in my head I think, is this my position all the
Mm.
time then?
Yeah.
And then it just changed. And I was like, oh my God, it was a great moment. That was so nice. Yeah.
Do you think that just being persistent really paid off for you when it came to that one?
Yeah, and I think also it was during I said I used to work for the NHS, right?
Mm.
So obviously working then, I was contracted, so shifts
Yeah.
weren't flexible. We'd do so many day shifts straight onto so many, a break in between, so onto so many night shifts. Um, so recovery, sleep wasn't good. The whole thing wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't good, but I didn't know any better.
Mm.
So I just went with it. That's just what I did. I made it work. Breaks were 15 minutes to get your food down, but to get to the canteen, it could take you 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The size of the building, I found myself in the washroom just chucking food in the
Mm.
bathroom, just chucking food down my neck, my meals, making excuses. Oh, I just need to go to the toilet, when I'm on the wards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you can imagine on nights, which I still do nights now, but I control when I work. So
Yeah.
nights were just horrendous, like sleep, which is sort of the same now, but like I said, the difference is I can control what shifts I
Yeah.
work. Um, and me and Andrew had discussed it before, but I was still doing well within my competitions
Mm.
under that amount of stress and everything just being, training. It was like I'd start my shift at 8 in the morning on a day shift, finish at 8 at night, walk to the gym, which was on my way home. So I'd walk to the gym and I'd train. So it'd be like if you throw in stretching and mobility and cardio and a bit of posing in there, It's like
Yeah.
midnight before you get home, before you finish, then you get home. Andrew's always really been really supportive. He'd prep my food behind the scenes. I'd come home, shower, up to start again in the morning, just repeat that on a day shift.
Yeah.
A night shift would consist of making sure everything is prepped before I go. And if I had like, and it's still the same now, if I have like about 3 or 4 shifts back to back, night shifts in a row, obviously to make sure all my food's prepped. Unless Andrew's available, he will do it.
Mm.
And then that would consist of, and these are obviously waking nights, they're not sleeping nights.
Yeah.
So 8 till 8 in the morning.
Mm.
When I was in the NHS, what I'd do then after a night shift would then go straight to the gym. I know people do it the other way around, but for me,
Yeah.
it just worked that way. So I'd go straight to the gym, do my workout, get that done, get home, sleep. I've always struggled sleeping in the day, and I've never been a big sleeper anyway. I think just in general, my sleep has been like I can function on 4 to 5 hours
Yeah.
a day, regardless of bodybuilding. Yeah. Um, so, but my sleep would be less than that. It's like 2 to 2.5.
Wow.
And so if you look at 4 shifts, 2.5 hours a day in 4 days. And that's pretty much how it is now. But like I said, the difference is I can control when I work, I can choose the
Yeah.
shifts. And yeah, so I just think that my being able to choose, sorry, gone off on a tangent, but
Yeah.
being able to choose the way I work with nursing is give me better recovery
Yeah. Well,
um sometimes, yeah.
it's probably even just the fact that you've at least been able to bring your stress down with it, because if you
Yeah.
have affected sleeping patterns, but then you're also really stressed and you feel out of control, which again, like as bodybuilders, we like to have control of most things.
Yeah.
It's just like it creates a storm almost because there's just so many different things that are kind of going on. But do you think that you've also, like you say, you've been doing this for like so long now that you're just adapted to what that routine is like and what it's like to go from night shifts to day shifts, and you kind of get more used to kind of handling that. Whereas I can imagine the difference between, I suppose, like your recent preps versus like your first couple of preps dealing with that. There was probably quite a big difference between the two.
Yeah. Like I said, I think in my later preps, like you said, going from day shifts to night shifts
Mm.
and all the stress of the job and the wards and, you know, just the whole nursing thing, then having gone to just working for an agency, so being able to choose my shifts, which is like the latter end of preps now in my career. Obviously, recovery is better. I can manage things better. My
Yeah.
training. If I feel I want to do 1 shift a week, which I do sometimes, then I do it.
Mm.
And I love it. I love just like everything gym wise, just, everything bodybuilding wise, everything posing wise, just being able to focus all on that. Um, like I'm on shift tomorrow night for two straight, which is not too bad, then one off, and then 4 back to back. So that is going to be a sacrifice, but
Yeah.
and obviously I still need to train, and I still have a couple of posing clients in as well that week. But like you said, I know how to handle it, and I know that the following week I won't be working at all, and maybe the week after I might not work.
Yeah.
So, and especially what I tend to do as well, Loz, is as we get deeper and deeper into prep. So sometimes I might hammer the shifts early on,
Mm.
and especially in off season. And then as we start to get deeper into prep, I just won't work or only
Yeah.
do 1 shift a week.
Yeah. It makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense. But
And
it's,
it does help with stress, recovery, everything. So, and Nathan always says, and you can with my numbers when I send in my numbers and my sheets and stuff, you can just see with my sleep, with my weight. Right now we're in a good place with weight. Going into Monday, finishing Tuesday morning, it's going to be right up there, and I'm
Yeah.
going to be so bloated. I need to do some pictures one time of before shift and after shift. That's what I need to do,
Yeah.
because the difference is just unbelievable. And it's not that I've eaten anything different. How I tend to do my meals throughout my night shift is I don't eat through the night.
Okay.
Some people do. I don't.
Yeah.
Just because if I was home, I wouldn't be eating at night.
Mm.
And then if I was to reverse it, then what about my days off? So it'd be
Yeah.
going back and forth. So I just keep it the same. My last meal at work would be ideally at midnight or just
Yeah.
before midnight. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
And then I'm not always, you'd think I'd be hungry for it, but because it's nighttime and I'm tired, I'm
Mm.
not really
Yeah,
hungry
it
for it.
probably almost makes it better because you're trying to just keep things at almost like similar to the normal times that you'd eat. So your
That's
hunger
it, yeah.
signaling is actually more regulated. And then you also don't have, like you say, like obviously you're going to have some digestive effects, but it's not as significant as if like one day you're eating all through the night and then the other day you're eating all through the day. And it's just like all over the place, which I
Exactly.
can imagine
Yeah.
in prep as well when you're trying to actually gauge your response, that would just make it even harder as well.
Yeah. And I do feel sorry for Nathan sometimes because I'm like checking and I'm like, I'm a nightmare, aren't I? Because
Mm.
the shifts they just throw my body off completely.
Mm.
And but like I said, we know what we have to do. We know when I need to pull back from work, and we know when I need to dig in. And the other thing as well, it's not just the sleep, it's like the water. I'm not the best water drinker, and especially when it's cold either. Um, so obviously when I finish my nights, I need to sleep after I've trained.
Yeah,
But then it's like trying to get my water in. It's like,
I really imagine.
so yeah. So then it's almost like I'm trying to get X amount of water in as soon as I wake up before midnight again.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose it's just like you've got to have so much organization and planning skills to do it. But it does show that like if you, as much as it's not like perfect, and I think some people worry too much about everything being perfect, you do the best to organize and do everything and tick all the boxes as best as you can in your situation, no matter what that is. And even the people that you think have got perfect scenarios, there's always something. And I think you have to just, like you say, do the best. But I wondered, have you learned to, especially throughout the majority of the prep, because like you say, when you get close to the show, you'll do less shifts, and that must help the look quite a lot. But for a lot of the prep, do you learn to kind of almost not fixate too much on like body weight and the look, or is that something that you sometimes struggle with at points?
yeah. Um, it sounds mad, but I would think probably just these last 2 seasons, even though I've been doing it all this time with the night shifts and everything, I've come to accept more that after shifts and when I've still recovering, my body's still recovering,
Mm,
my weight and my look is not going to be the same. I've started to
yeah,
accept that more, but it still does get to me a little bit up here.
yeah,
And that's why I really look forward to the weeks when I'm only doing one shift. If I only do one shift, I think the body doesn't move. The shift is not that much.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's when you're into your 2 and 3 and 4. And regarding off-season prep, oh God, yeah. I'm starting to, and you might think, oh, just now you're just starting, probably because of this long off season that I've had, and struggle with, yeah, putting the weight back on. Not to put it back on, that's not a big
yeah,
deal, but the look, like
yeah,
you said,
yeah,
and the scales. And I have these really weird rituals, like I'll wake up in the morning. We've got mirrors at the side of the bed, my side and his side.
yeah,
I'll wake up in the morning, prep or non-prep, look in the mirror. Okay, go over to Andrew's side, look in that mirror. Oh yeah, that's better. Go into the hallway mirror, look in that one. I know that one's crap, but I still need to look in it. Then I go on the scales. So yeah, I do struggle, but I think this season I've managed it a little bit better,
Mm.
and I've not been as afraid to push up. Just thinking about that long-term goal, stepping on stage this year towards the end of the year, I think you just have to stay focused and think about, why are you doing it? It's only temporary,
Yeah.
the push up. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this has
But
been,
also to be mindful, sorry, guys, but to be
that's right.
mindful not to push up too far.
Yeah.
And that's down to yourself and your coach with the conversation, isn't it, really? And
Yeah.
knowing your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this has been, like you say, it's like the longest time that you've had off since the Worlds in 2023. But like you say, like you have a timeline and you know what you'll be mapping out for with Nath, but how has how has that time been, I suppose, taking that time away from the stage? I mean, you did that when you did the Worlds in 23, it was
Mm.
very close to obviously doing the Natural Olympia. So I wonder if did you feel ready to like take some time off? Because that's like they were what 5, 6 months apart,
Yeah.
and you were stage lean for so long.
Yeah. So what had happened was, I mean, for people that don't know, my previous preps had always been like, um, I would say at the most 6 months
Yeah.
off season, off season prep. Had only been like 6 months because, as you know, I love to compete. I love to go on stage,
Yeah.
and you always think you know better.
Mm.
And I just thought, I feel good. Why not do it? Why not jump
Mm.
back on stage? I don't need an off season. Why don't I
Yeah.
need an off season? Or yeah, I'll have an off season, and it's 5 to 6 months. Um, so we'd always done that, and then with Nathan, he had said, I think you need a break. And I think there were one European show. I'm not good with dates, laws, and shows, and I think Lee said to me, "You're doing great." He said, "But you're starting to look tired."
Yeah. Yeah. That
And was
was
it
that
when
the
you
Europeans in 22 or was that 21? 22 was the year you won your pro card, I think.
21 then,
It's
I
21. Yeah, I
think.
remember. In
Yeah. So
press.
he said that, yeah, you're starting to look tired. Maybe think about reducing the amount of shows you're doing or
Yeah.
having a longer off season. Oh God, you know me, didn't want to hear that.
No.
But we did. We went for it. And so, like I said, the Worlds in June. What happened is coming out of the previous show to that, I had set in my own head. Finally got my head around it. Let's do a long off season
Yeah.
right through till where we're coming up to now.
Mm.
Um, and then Lee announced they were having the Worlds in the
Yeah.
UK, and I was like, oh. But I was still focused. I was like, no, no, no. And then Andrew's like, oh, you've got to do it. You can't not do it. It's in Manchester. It's on your doorstep. You've got to
Yeah.
support them. I said, no, it's not about supporting them. You just want me to do it. And he's like, well, yeah, I do. And I did want to do it. But at the same time, I knew I had made this plan. And I was like, oh God, I don't know if I want to deviate from this plan.
Yeah.
And then I just switched and I said to Nathan, oh, I'm thinking of doing such and such. And he's like, oh, and then he was like, oh, okay, it's in Manchester, it's in the UK. He says, okay, let's go for it. Like that, you get. But I think as the prep went on, we knew obviously we're not being able to do much in the off season. Yeah. So I think we were looking at bringing just more condition, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it didn't go to plan, it's not that it didn't go to plan. It's just, or that or that Nathan, or we misgauged it or anything.
No.
I think it's my body just didn't want to play ball.
Yeah, just tired.
Even, yeah, Nathan said it, because we came across times where we were just at sticking points and it just didn't
Yeah,
want to move. It was time for it to go into off season. It just didn't want that turnaround. I'd never done a turnaround that quick.
yeah.
Yeah, I like competing, but I'd never done a turnaround that quick at all before. And so fast forward down to show day and everything. Um, yeah, my legs looked good. Everything was okay, but I knew my glutes weren't where they needed to be and where they'd been in the past. I knew that. And that was one of the reasons for taking the longer off season, was to put on a little bit more tissue upstairs and
Mm,
also to really bring those hammies and those glutes in.
yeah,
Well, we've not had that time, did we? So we went with what we had. Um, yeah, and that was the outcome. I mean, it wasn't a bad outcome. What was it? Third in the Masters and fourth or fifth in the Open. These are both pro shows. Was that it?
be fine. Yeah, third. It was. I've got third written down here, so it must have been third. I don't know if I've got the result for the other one. 23. I don't know. It was
Yeah, I think it was.
definitely third in one of the classes. Because did you do the open as
That
well?
was be the Masters. So it'd be third in the
Yeah.
Masters, and then I did the Open, and was it the Danish girl that won? So in the Open,
I think Meg McEverly won the open in
oh,
that.
was it?
Yeah, and then the
Yeah,
Danish girl was second.
that was it. Yeah. So I think I was either fourth or fifth,
Yeah,
and it was funny because I came off stage and was a little disappointed. But then if you look back at my pictures, and if you look at the overall result, why was I disappointed? Why? Because third was a good, you know, in pro
in pro
show on
level.
home
Yeah,
ground, and fourth or fifth was good in top five, was good in pro show open,
yeah,
you know. But I was disappointed because if I was honest and I looked at my pictures, I knew my glutes weren't where they needed to be.
yeah,
And I knew, well, then we established we need more tissue upstairs. So, Nathan said, no matter what you would have brought that day, I don't think it would have changed the overall outcome with Meg and the Danish girl,
yeah,
because we need more tissue and we didn't have yeah. So we, and then when I started to reflect, I was like, okay, it's a good result.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And like you say, there's always like positives that you can take out of that. Because like you say, one, it was still a really good result. And like you got to do a pro debut at home, which like we say, it's the only like natural world championships that's ever been held in the UK, which is cool. Like it's
yeah.
really cool to say that you've been a part of it. And I think to have the opportunity to do that, like there's so many athletes who are thinking like, I wish I could compete right now and do this show because it was an amazing show.
Yeah.
And you get, like you say, you get that opportunity to be in that pro lineup and actually see
Mm,
like, oh, okay, like maybe these are just some areas that we need to add a bit more tissue or we can focus on. And like
yeah.
you have to make that pro debut sometime. And it's almost quite nice that you've not had such a long build up of like not necessarily pressure, but you're kind of anticipating it and thinking how I'm going to stack up
Mm,
against the pros. Like you know how you're going to stack
yeah.
up when ultimately you also maybe weren't at your freshest and your best. And now you're going to be able to go into that being fresh and having made some
Mm.
improvements, which is, I suppose, a bit more exciting as well.
Yeah, and I think like you said, and Andrew said as well, he's like, regardless of the outcome, it was on home ground, Paula. It was such an
Mm,
experience,
yeah.
for you to be in that show, and such an honor as well. So, and I had family members that could come, and so it is great memories. Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to kind of remember that with some of the bodybuilding experiences as well is like, yes, we want to be competitive and we want to do well, but like we do it because we enjoy it. And I think sometimes being able to make the most of those opportunities and like just enjoying the day and enjoying what you can take from it is cool. Like how, there's not many world championships that you get to do when you look back, and you don't want to look back and think, oh, I
Yeah.
wish I'd just done that or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
with I suppose leading on from that as well, like looking at this year ahead for you then, as you are looking to make obviously another pro show, and what is actually the plan for you, if you don't mind talking about like shows and what you're thinking for the season ahead?
Well, shows are quite minimal for me this year. Well, I say minimal. So at the minute it's three. My first one will be UKDFBA, the pro show.
Yeah.
September, is it? Yeah.
Is
Um,
October, maybe?
October.
Yeah.
There you go. Told you I wasn't good with dates. October. You were like looking puzzled.
Like September.
Something I don't know about. Yeah, that will be my first one. I would have liked to have done something before, but when I say before, I really don't want anything to eat into this season at all.
Yeah.
I just want to have as long as I can. So it would have to be like a week before.
Yeah.
But I'm not really focusing on that. I'm
Mm.
just looking at the UKDFBA. From there, I'll go to the universe with the team.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the worlds. Um, I just think I've done the worlds. I just think it's adding another show in. So it's
Yeah.
diluting the look. So from the universe, I'll go to Natural Olympia.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
And that will be my main focus. Those, yeah.
No, that's really exciting. I think,
Um,
like you say,
yeah.
being like you've almost got to be strategic with how you place your shows, and like you mentioned, Lee had said before, it's like the amount of shows and how far apart
Mm,
they are, because I think sometimes we forget when we get excited and we're like, I want to do this show and this show and this show, and then you realize you've been doing shows for like 10, 12 weeks, and then you're like, oh my God,
yeah.
I'm
And I
actually
think
tired.
yeah, I think that's the time. Where is it? So June last year, June, it was the one show. It was the year before when I did all those shows back to back. What was it
Mm.
like, 6 or 7 shows?
Yeah,
And it was just, I mean, it was great fun. And I had still had great results,
yeah,
but it was insane. And again, like Lee said, you start to look tired. I mean, I managed to pull it off, but I'm sure at the end of Olympia, when they had the press conference day the
yeah.
next day, halfway through that day, I was ill and I had to leave the room.
Oh yeah, I actually remember being told about
Yeah.
that.
And so I stayed in the room. We were there for another day or two. So I stayed in the room. I got really sick,
Oh,
yeah.
bless you.
And so Andrew was out with the team and stuff, because
Mm.
obviously we're in Vegas. I wanted him to enjoy. And after that show, and I remember speaking to Lee, and he's like, just don't, because I was doing the ICN after that, the
Oh my
ICN
God.
Worlds. I know. And he's like, do you really need to do it? But this is me, isn't it? Like, I have
Yeah,
something planned and
you
I
want to do
have to
it.
continue. I have to follow
Yeah.
it through. And so we flew back home. I was still ill. We flew back home, spoke to Nathan. He says, he says, look at you, Paula. He says, I just don't. He says, if anything, and I think it was in Hungary or Budapest, something like that. He's like, go, but don't expect too much. Just look at it as like a holiday, like a little
Yeah.
break,
Yeah.
because you guys have booked it and everything like that. So I guess we kind of went with that intention in a sense. And I was still ill when I got there and everything. It's only a short flight, but I was bloated. The physique just didn't look right.
Yeah.
I checked in, it was totally off. We did steps, we did everything to try and reduce the bloating and just the way the physique looked. But it was all just due to the illness, the
Yeah.
inflammation, the body.
Yeah.
And so that night, I mean, obviously we were all registered and everything, but that night before the show, Nathan was said, I'm gonna call it here. He's like, no, you're not going on stage.
Yeah.
So we had some tears and disappointment. And that was it. I woke up the next morning, my little ritual, mirror ritual, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, hang on, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? So I woke Andrew up and I'm like, babes, look. And he's like, fuck, you look awesome. Oops. He's like, you look awesome. I said, I know. So gone to Nathan, checked in. He's like, go for it. He goes, I don't know what's happened, but you look awesome. Go for it.
Love it.
So I went for it and I won
Yeah.
it. I won everything. So,
That's madness.
but I don't advise that. Obviously, that was a
No.
fluke. It was, that's not healthy. It's not normal. And I think I have learned from that
Yeah.
excessive show. Even after that ICN show, we came home 3 days later. We flew to Dubai for holiday, and I was still ill in the first week.
Yeah. That
Still the
sucks.
after effects. Yeah.
Body's just
So
battered by that point.
yeah, not good at all, really.
No.
Silly.
It's exciting though that you've got those, like we said, those shows planned for this year, and hopefully you can kind of, well, you will be in just a much fresher and just chilled headspace, just having those to kind of focus on in a shorter time frame, which is, like you say, it's not really something that you've done before, and it's going to be quite exciting to kind of see you like present that. And I do really, really look forward to seeing it. But I actually wanted to touch on one thing because you've mentioned it so much throughout this episode, is how supportive Andrew is with everything. Even from the very, very start when it came to, you both looking at bodybuilders together and him first saying, oh, why are you taking it offensively, sort of thing. And like, how has he always just been, so accepting and supporting of almost, I suppose, everything that you do? Because everyone knows when Andrew's like in the crowd and he's there, because he is like the number
Yeah.
one fan, and I love it and I think it's amazing. But yeah, how much of a difference does that obviously make for you?
I think it makes a big difference. And having a good support system and or someone there in your corner all the time it does really help. And you know what? He'll tell me the truth. He will. I
Yeah,
mean, like when we talked about um the placings that I were getting, and sometimes he has to say to me, Paula, just stop. You're never happy. You'll win this or you'll get that, but you won't be happy, will you? He says you need to stop and just reflect and have a look at what you've achieved, you know, to appreciate it all, sort of thing. And he's right. But yeah, like I said, from prepping meals, from, when I'm doing all the shows, the Airbnbs, the hotels, the flights, he deals with all that because if I'm working and I'm prepping and training, and I just can't be dealing with that.
yeah,
So it is nice to have him. And like you said, he's at all the shows. And, there's been times like at the Worlds in June. Obviously he's in the audience, he can see what's going on. And,
yeah,
and I'll be like, and he'll be like, Paul, you weren't going to get that. There was
yeah,
no way you were going to get that. So he is, even though he's my husband, he is very honest regarding my look and my placings. Um, he he looks forward to off seasons, but now he started saying things like, "There is really no off season, is there, with you? There's no even off season is
yeah,
intense. It's
yeah,
still, I mean, you know what I mean. So,
yeah, I do. Yeah. Still, it's
but
still
yeah,
bodybuilding. Yeah.
yes, that's it. Yeah. But now even with the posing business, he's so supportive with everything. And you know what? Fitness is not his life apart from what I do.
Yeah.
I've tried over the years to get him in the gym and he's gone. And he was with not Nathan, but he was with Phoebe for a while as a lifestyle client.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did make some good results. But I think he did it for me because I kind
Yeah.
of pushed and I kept pushing, but it wasn't really his thing. And I know now that that's not him.
Mm,
He wants to eat what he wants to eat. He wants
yeah.
to, we both don't drink anyway, but he doesn't want to be in the gym
Mm,
exercising himself. He doesn't mind supporting me, anything that involves supporting me, but it's
mm.
not his lifestyle like that. So I've come to accept that as well. So I just let him get on with it now.
That's nice though, because it's like he doesn't necessarily need to do the same things and be a bodybuilder or anything himself. It's just it's the support that matters more than
Yeah,
anything. Because you can I say this all the time, is like you could have some like friends or partner, it doesn't matter, who are also into bodybuilding, but if they're unsupportive or if they're a nightmare with their own process, it just makes it worse.
yeah,
It's like
double trouble.
yeah, you'd rather just be, it doesn't matter as long as you've got somebody around you who's supportive, who makes the things that you do enjoyable. That's it. And that's just
Mm.
golden really to have that. So no, it is amazing to see. And like you say, even that he's supportive with everything with the posing business and everything. And I wanted to kind of like ask you, I suppose, as like a final note, what are if you can look at this year ahead and you're looking at like the goals that you've kind of got laid out, how have you set yourself any goals or how are you envisioning everything this year when it comes to, I suppose, both competing and also business as well?
Mm. Um, Regarding competing, I would just say, obviously, the Olympia is to place really well,
Yeah.
better than what I've done previously. So maybe to take the win.
Okay.
Um, but if not, just to bring a better package as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited as well to actually see what we bring. It doesn't matter how big or how small, just as long as it's something.
Yeah.
And then regarding business, yeah, I'm excited about my posing stuff just to grow the business. Yeah, just to continue to grow and to give back to the athletes. I love it when an athlete comes in the studio and they know relatively nothing about
Mm.
posing and then they stick with you and you see their journey a bit like a prep coach really,
Yeah.
and you just see them like the physique start to change because obviously if they're in prep or in off season, and then the posing's just changing with it and just how far they've come, which is really sort of like a minute mimic of my own journey with Emma
Yeah.
when oh God, when I first went to Emma for posing. Ooh, she was like, whoa, what's that? And I just feel my own posing obviously has grown so much as well. So to be able to give back and just to be so blessed to be able to grow my business and continue my health as well, for my bodybuilding.
Yeah. I was going to say, did posing ever like come because you have a background in dance? Did it come naturally or was it still one of those things that you kind of had to find your feet
Um,
with it a little bit?
yeah, I'd say it came naturally as far as like choreography, memory, stringing
Yeah.
things together, um, confidence, things like that.
Mm.
But as far as certain poses and certain angles in dance and ballet, it's all about tucking the butt under.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so different.
Bodybuilding and posing, it's all about sticking the butt out. And the shoulders, it's about popping the shoulder caps. In dance, it's about relaxing the shoulders
Yeah.
and, so the posture is a little bit different. And I still struggle with certain things, no one's perfect.
No.
Um, but yeah, I love it, and I'm just looking forward. Got some good things happening next year, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Oh, it's
Can't reveal.
very exciting. But thank you so much for obviously talking to me today and sharing your journey, and also just talking about so many fantastic different topics. I think we've covered
I
so many
know.
amazing things. I love it. So thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest. Please let everyone know where they can find your Instagram, plug your businesses, plug your posing so that people know where they can reach out for posing. It's an open platform to let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so basically with the posing business, I am Next Level Pro Posing, and you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook and TikTok. So it's Paula Cox _ Next Level Pro Posing, and I'm based in Chester. I also do Skypes. I do also do prep coaching as well. However, I don't really advertise that just because I'm so busy myself.
Yeah.
So I have 4 clients and I'm just quite happy with that. Couple of them, 3 of them go to stage, one is lifestyle, and we're just a happy little group, and that's fine. When I feel I need to advertise, I will. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for having me, Lars. Really appreciate it. And it was fun chatting, yeah,
No, you're
and
so well.
reminiscing.
It's been lovely. So, no, thank you for sharing all of that. Everyone, I will leave all those details in the description. So, do make sure to check that out and get in touch with Paula if you are interested in some posing coaching. But yeah, thank you so much, Paula, for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please make sure to rate the podcast if you've enjoyed the episode. Give the episode a share and tag us on Instagram if you are listening. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode, and I'll be back again next week.